Well, if you thought McDonald's funding Mac and Me was a bad corporate investment, think about the...
Oh, what do you think about the Tops company
Tops
in this
too,
bad boy?
Yeah. Ooh, man.
Yeah, so this has sort of been a continuation of this. They were branching out from like athletic superstars into creepy childhood creature things.
Bizarre, disgusting caricatures of children. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Welcome to Bad Movies and Beer. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And this is a special bonus episode. We're getting a little retro-rific here, going back to the 80s in a popular trading card when you and I were children, like young children, the Garbage Pail Kids movie.
Yeah, so I remember the Garbage Pail Kids as a thing. I think we were just a little too young for this to be a part of our heyday.
Yeah, like they might have been a little bit like maybe 3 or 4 years older than us. Kids were doing that, but they were around. Like I remember seeing them.
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely remember seeing the trading cards. Did they turn them into figurines later? I feel like they became action figures maybe when we were a little older.
I feel like it would have been hard not to try and monetize that further, as evidenced by this movie.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So they decided to take those tremendous gum packaging trading cards and turn them into a live action film.
Yes, it is a live action film, not a cartoon, which would have seemed like a much more natural and organic, probably better idea than trying to create physical, tangible versions. They're kind of like oddly proportioned. Their heads are enormous. And look, I'll just say it. You're a woke guy. You must have enjoyed how much employment this led to for little people. Come on. Every one of these Garbage Pail Kids is clearly played by what you refer to as little person.
Yeah, I actually wondered as we started watching if it was straight like puppets, like hand up the ass kind of thing. But no, these are definitely costumes that are on children or little people for sure.
Not a lot of budget for the heads, though, I feel.
No. Like any puppeting would be like a small strap on a chin or something that allows for tiny movement, or maybe the eyes are like... not even controlled by the responses of the human under there. There's not a lot going on here in terms of the puppeteering. Jim Henson would be upset for sure.
What about Tim Henson, his infamous brother from Mac and Me?
Yeah, well, Tim would also be upset about this one.
This is sub Tim Henson grade. You're even saying.
Sub Tim. Yeah.
You think the Mac and Me puppet effects are better than this? Yeah, that's right. Now you really think about it, the answer's not so clear.
Well, I don't know.
All right.
I mean, at least that one got shot around a room and did some kind of exciting things on a vacuum.
Well, these ones fucking charmed a gang of bikers.
That's true. Their personalities are stronger than Mac's. That's for sure.
That is for sure. We're going to cover all of their unique personalities and all the strange happenings in this movie. But before we do, as always, we have paired the movie up with a beer. This is actually kind of the impetus for this episode. What's the beer that we're drinking today?
Oh, this is a beer called Trashed, and it has a gentleman in his underwear posed kind of like the Thinker. Is that the statue?
He's very contemplative as he sits on top of a dumpster of his own making, presumably.
Yeah, so this is a perfect connection to our Garbage Pail Kids. It is also a double IPA, which I think is a connection to being trashed.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
The alcohol content is certainly going to aid in our feeling that way. This is by the All My Friends Beer Company. They are out of Prince Edward County. Another new brewery out of Prince Edward County. Man, that place is blowing up.
Seriously, yeah. A lot of breweries out there right now, and this is maybe the third or fourth one we've had just this season from there. Is that right?
We've definitely had in the last little while a lot of beers out of Prince Edward County. We've drank a couple of their other beers already. We had Softy, like a hazy pale ale. That one I enjoyed.
Cheeky, which was a fruited sour, mango, lime, coconut, and sea salt. I like that one. If you're a coconut fan, that's a real winner.
They have a broad selection of stuff. It seems like they had some pretty cool barrel-aged stouts.
A lot of IPAs for people like yourself.
Yeah, no, I think this place, from the beers I've had so far, I've been really impressed, and I look forward to drinking this one. It's kind of nice to grab a beer and then match that up with a movie. That's not normally the way we do it. But
no, but I mean, I have been looking for something to pair with the Garbage Pail Kids movie for a while, because I watched this a couple of years ago and was just like blown away by how fucking weird it is. So when they put this beer out, it was just a recent release, I was like, there it is. I noticed 8.5% on this double IPA.
Yeah, it's going to add to our alcohol intoxication level today.
Yeah. Should we just get into it, or what do you think here?
Oh, absolutely. Let's just put this right on top of the other ones we've already downed. It's perfect.
There you go. Let's do it.
I'm so excited. This is going to be great.
So inexplicably, we open with an outer space backdrop and a title card telling us this is a Topps chewing gum production. They hammer down the whole trading card connection in the opening credits as a spaceship shaped like a fucking garbage can floats onto the screen. We are 30 seconds into this thing, and it is already completely ridiculous.
And low budget. This space can with like 3 lights strapped to the bottom of it does not look like a realistic space.
No, it clearly exists outside of the background that we're seeing, and the weird like trading card graphics flying towards us are also a little weird. This whole thing is just so strange. As we get to the actual real world, the camera tilts down to reveal a teenage couple walking down the street in front of an antique store. Only it's not a street, it is clearly a movie set. And just inside the window is a regular-sized garbage can, which, was that the spaceship? What was that?
It has to be, I guess. I'm glad you had a tone to your voice when you said real world, because we are clearly soundstage only here.
Yeah,
they've got one street set up for this entire fucking movie.
You only see one side of it too. There's never the other side.
No. We're starting at the Curiosity Shop. We don't see as many of these anymore, but a place that has kind of like trinkets from all over the world. This was the place you'd go pre-globalization to find things from other cultures.
Yeah, before Pier 1 imports fucking colonized the whole idea, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
So anyway, this garbage can, we don't see what's inside it yet, but we hear a whole bunch of voices. Mischievous at first, and then British. That last one is the store owner. More on him coming up soon.
There's a bunch of laughter and kind of mayhem, like lights are going on and off, and you're hearing, what sound like some childish voices coming from what we can only assume are creatures out of the can. We know what this is about, and we're familiar with kind of the gross out characters from the cards, so we know that they're coming shortly.
Yeah, we just want to get a look. They're kind of dangling it, making us wait a little before we get to see these things, and I don't know if it was worth the wait or not. I mean, in a way it is, if you like seeing just an absolute fucking freak show of terrible practical effects, honestly.
I'm glad you ended that with terrible practical effects.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
It is. Now, from there, we make a jarring cut to a child being chased by what looks like a new wave band through a park in daylight. These guys are expending a huge amount of energy trying to get this kid's lunch money, and when they find out he doesn't have any, they dump him in the mud. Now, what shocked me here was how the gang members' girlfriends were also actively trying to get him, or maybe they're not girlfriends, and this is a particularly progressive gang. What do you think?
Oh my goodness. I was mostly confused by the synth music and new wave outfits. The one guy is definitely wearing Mungo Jerry's shirt, though.
We haven't had a Mungo Jerry reference in a while. Yeah, it's that mesh kind of see-through shirt. Same with Bennett was wearing in Commando.
Yeah, I think this is a throwback to season 1 for us here. Now, this guy is much less menacing than Bennett, I must say.
Less menacing?
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's fair. He's
Bennett was at least
younger.
A big guy. This guy, he can run, but he does not look very scary. But I guess it is scary if you have adults chasing a child, which is what's happening in this scene.
I think they're supposed to be teenagers, but I couldn't figure out the age gap here, because the one we're going to meet in a second, our main character, Dodger is his name. He claims to be 14, but if he's 14, that would put these characters in their like mid-20s, right? There's a noticeable, maybe like a decade between them.
Absolutely. He is way younger than them. And if they are supposed to be teens, I am not convinced in any way. But I don't even think they are. I think they are just like the street toughs, but you think they would be pushing around people with actual money, not chasing a child.
Well, yeah, how much money is this kid going to have realistically? It seems so strange. If you're straight bullying, cool, but to make it about robbing him, that's an odd choice. Sorry, not cool. I should clarify. I'm not saying bullying is cool, but it would make more sense from a storytelling standpoint.
Everybody Cooper says bullying is cool. Put that on a t-shirt.
It's a hot take. I'm coming out pro-bullying.
Yeah.
No, it turns out this kid isn't just some random kid. He works at that curiosity shop, the antique store, which we quickly learn is owned by Captain Mancini, that British guy from before, who is not just British, he's also a magician. Seriously, he casts a spell in his shop before giving the kid a dashiki.
Here, try this on.
A dress?
Only to westernize, this is a dashiki, given to me by the great African tribal leader Umtota, in gratitude for making his mother-in-law disappear.
Yeah, you gave him the dashiki because the kid was covered in mud. He
Speaking of things that wouldn't fly these days.
Yeah, no, it was pretty weird.
Given the blondest haired, blue-eyedest kid you've ever seen in your life, a dashiki?
Yeah,
I don't know.
No. Also, a old man boss getting a small boy naked in his
shop.
Well,
we get to that in a second. That is very strange.
He has him undressed here as well, which is just the start of weird things to come.
Yeah, we never meet Dodger's parents. I'm not sure how...
Doesn't seem like they're in the picture. Like, if he is not an orphan, those parents are nowhere to be seen. And I mean, 80s parenting was a little different. There was a lot more free roaming, but he's got way too much leverage here.
They named their kid fucking Dodger. How responsible could they be? Anyway, in between lamenting the development of modern weapons, Captain Mancini lectures his young apprentice on Pandora's box and the importance of not touching things that don't belong to you. This lesson clearly doesn't land, though, as just minutes later, we see this kid trying to make a move on Juice's girl.
Yeah, what I found weird about this was it was one of the two girls who was involved in the park robbery. It made me curious whether there was some kind of pre-existing relationship here. Had he been hitting on this much older girl all along, and this is actually why the, street toughs are beating him up?
Yeah, I don't know either. He clearly knows her. We find out later that she literally lives next door to this shop, so he's probably been watching her for a while. But again, who knows how old these kids are? Either way, Juice does not take kindly to what he perceives as a 12-year-old kid disrespecting his manhood. And in the course of him slapping the kid around, they happen to knock over Pandora's garbage can. So get ready for kid-friendly shenanigans.
I guess kind of. This was rated PG-13, so they definitely take it a little bit further than a general movie. No G here. This was made for teenage boys, young teenage boys, I'd say.
I think a lot of young teenage boys would look at this and be like, what the fuck is this? Put it this way. There's a lot of PG-13 movies where you're going to get a lot more excitement in terms of
you're saying
violence, nudity, swearing. None of that's really in here. I don't really know what the 13 is in this for. Is it because there's some alcohol consumption?
Yeah, some women's dresses are torn off, but you don't see any nudity. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The switchblade usage, there's a lot of switchblades that make an appearance.
There are. You know what it maybe is? I said kid-friendly a minute ago. We get our close look here at the Garbage Pail Kids, and these things are pure nightmare fuel. Maybe that's true. What it is. Yeah.
They just thought kids would have so many terrible dreams.
Yeah. Now, I will say, though, they do, help Dodger out after he gets dragged down into the sewers and showered in dirty water. They pull him back up to the surface and resuscitate him when one of them farts on his face. Wendy Winston, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh.
Get used to that.
Yeah, we're going to get a lot of characters. Each one of them, these Garbage Pail Kids, has their own special disgustingness. Wendy Winston, obviously, is the flatulent one. What are some of the others we get introduced to here?
Oh, my God. So we get Greaser Greg, who is essentially just like a 1950s fucking, biker street tough type.
Constantly pulling out a switchblade and threatening people and talking about women in
the slick back pompadour and the
derogatory ways.
Definitely. Yeah. Valerie Vomit, who I guess is going to throw up on stuff, which takes a long time to happen, but it does eventually happen.
Yeah, not a lot of payoff with this one.
Nope. Foul Phil, who is like a baby who is just generally disgusting and keeps thinking everyone is his mom or dad. Nat Nerd, who is an acne-laden, glasses-wearing pants wetter.
Yeah, this one's a little offensive. I'm just going to say
this one's a little offensive? Just this one? All right.
No, I don't know. I just felt like it's funny. Of all the things that are in there, nerds would certainly be looked at way differently now than the early 80s. And that seems to be the one that, the stereotype would have changed the most.
I agree. Much less pants wetting these days with nerds. Messy Tessie, who is she just is oozing snot out of her nose. Wendy Winston, we mentioned, he is a very, very flatulent black kid.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. Is he not? I don't know what you say with that.
Yeah.
And then Alligator, who is a fucking alligator.
Yeah, what the fuck was this?
The rest of them are all human, and he's an alligator that walks on two legs and talks.
Why did they have an alligator character? I assume he's also in the cards. I don't remember back then.
Oh, definitely. I'm assuming that that's what it was, is some cartoonist dreamed up this hilarious name pun.
Yes.
And was like, I'm going to make one of these kids a fucking alligator.
And so now it is in real life as a costume worn on a little person.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
one of them gets to be an alligator.
Yeah, and this one is a crass and also raw meat loving fool.
Well, he likes to eat toes, which...
Is that a sexual thing?
It seemed like there was a bit of a... Yeah. You only ever see him eating women. Oh, he does threaten to eat the men's toes a couple times.
He eats a male biker's toe.
Well, there you go. So maybe he's,
He's just open to all toes.
There you go. Yeah. He's fluid. He's fluid when it comes to toes. It's a spectrum, Noel. So we meet the Garbage Pail Kids here. I'll tell you who is not pleased to see them, though. Captain Mancini, he is upset at Dodger for letting them out of their magical garbage can / spaceship and demands that Dodger get him a bunch of old-timey ingredients to put a spell on these terrifying bobble-headed alien dwarves.
I want the tooth of a crocodile, a bottle of English fog,
Captain.
the hair of a goat, the shadow of your smile.
Captain, we can't get that stuff anymore.
That's 20th century progress for you. We can put a man on the moon, but we can't find a few simple ingredients to do a magic trick.
This is our second example of the captain longing for the good old days, and we will get a lot more as we keep moving through this.
This makes me question how old he is. Like, do you think this guy's been around for like 400 years based on the way he talks and the kind of shit that he's doing? He does perform magic.
Well, that's the thing. If you're magical, you assume you might be able to prolong your life. Who's to say? I was waiting for him to do and then I turned to King Arthur and said, like, one of those sort of things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, and I thought that would happen too, but we didn't see it. I wish there was a bit of payoff with that. So he's obviously disappointed that all these things are out of the Pandora's garbage pail. But instead of really screaming at the kid, he's like, it's all right, mistakes happen. We'll figure this out. But it's time for you to get naked and have these puppets watch you.
Yeah, I was going to say, he gives actually the Garbage Pail Kids a speech about how they can't control the way they look, but we can control our actions. And I was actually thinking that message would have resonated a lot more if he wasn't delivering it while bathing a 14-year-old boy. Just, if we're talking about judging someone by their actions. We forgot to mention, though, that Alligator, when he gets out of the Pandora's box, he has like a lunchbox that is full of human fingers and eyeballs, because apparently he's also been just like murdering drifters since they got to Earth, or what?
I think that's a refrigerated lunchbox. He's been keeping those for like centuries. Who
but
knows
they're
how
aliens.
long he's been there?
Oh, you're saying that the preamble we saw, maybe they don't land in modern Earth. They've just been there
they could have been around for a while. He could have been collecting them. I don't think he's been out recently getting those. I think he's just got a store of eyes and toes in that box.
Looks fresh to me. I don't know. Well,
refrigerated.
I don't know. These characters, we kind of introduced them earlier, but we did not stress how incredibly one-dimensional they are.
How bad they suck. Like, they are awful.
That's a different way of saying it, yeah.
Yeah, they are not both in character and or in appearance very, like, dynamic or interesting.
No, they're literally just one-note jokes that we're going to get over and over again as we move through this thing. And speaking of moving, Dodger spots that Tangerine girl outside the shop and somehow convinces her to bring him along as she heads to a different part of town to sell some of her clothing designs. Now, two things confused me about this scene. First, why this popular older girl is having anything to do with some nerdy kid who is like at least 3 or 4 years her junior. And where the fuck do they drive to for her to sell these clothes? It's daytime when he walks out of that store, and it is pitch black night when they arrive at this club. How long were they driving? You mentioned this while we were watching.
Yeah, so both of these questions are unanswerable. Like, in the real world, this girl would have nothing to do with this kid who got dummied earlier. She was a part of the process of getting him dummied. Just because he works at the curiosity shop that's around the corner from her house, there's no way that she would give him the time of day. But she sees here an opportunity, I guess, to get some free labor. She like leads him on a little bit and tells him he can come help her sell clothes as long as he follows her pricing model. And then they show up at a club where she unloads all her clothes out the side of this club. The both timeline of what happens during a day and where they are in this movie does not follow Earth's logic. Like, this has to be an alternate universe because the day is like 2 hours long in this fucking place because it's night, dark, night, dark, night, dark.
Yeah.
And they like are able to travel between places remarkably quickly. Like, there's weird, I don't understand what's happening, but it doesn't work very well here. He does head there and help her. They sell out of all the clothes that she wanted, and he's feeling pretty good about himself, this little Dodger.
He sure, a fucking ridiculous name. He sure is feeling good. He's not the only one that is driving around right now, though, because the Garbage Pail Kids decide to sneak out of the antique shop to look for other Garbage Pail Kids, I guess. This becomes kind of like a weird subplot of this thing. They decide to steal a Pepsi delivery truck, which does not make a lot of sense, but really this is all just a setup for them to flatten Juice's car. And when I say flattened, I mean literally. It's like a cartoon steamroller ran over this thing. Suddenly it is two-dimensional, like a drawing on the ground.
We get some bad jokes here. We do have the truck they steal. Apparently, the delivery man had his pants attached to it, and they got torn off when it drove away. So we get that bad underwear sight gag, and it turns out that they stole the Pepsi truck just for the Pepsi. The Garbage Pail Kids are going to consume a lot of junk food here.
They do, and this is the product placement thing for sure. We get another one later on for Banaka, of all things, because Foul Phil perhaps has a bad breath issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of them mentions like being part of the Pepsi generation, which I think was the slogan at the time. Everything about this is weird. And speaking of weird, the Garbage Pail Kids give Dodger a makeover here, but it basically just consists of them modifying one of Captain Mancini's jackets and slapping it on him. This new look inexplicably gets Tangerine's full attention. She absolutely loves the jacket and thinks she can make big money selling them. I don't understand this at all. This kid looks like a fancy doorman or a member of the Commodores.
I actually thought he looked like Michael Jackson. It looked like an outfit that Michael would have worn here. I was like, this is interesting. I just thought they were trying to play off that fame. I didn't know the timeline, or I don't remember exactly, but it felt like that's what they were paying homage to.
I mean, maybe. I didn't really understand it, but I'll tell you what was easy to understand. The message we get after our next scene, which comes in the form of a musical number. The Garbage Pail Kids agree to help Dodger touch his first breast ever by making a bunch more of these outfits for him, and they do it by stealing some sewing machines from a non-union sweatshop and staying up all night working. I wasn't sure this was going to work, but Greaser Greg is far more confident than I.
Chicks is chicks, and I know my chicks.
I guess he's right to feel this way, because as we learn here, we can do anything by working with each other.
You know how I feel about musical numbers. I'm quite a fan.
Yeah, how was this one for
costumes, you? This one did not pull it off.
No?
Although I laughed a lot when they went and stole sewing machines from the non-unionized
clearly
sweatshop.
marked non-unionized sweatshop, yeah.
It was labeled on the door and window. I laughed my ass off at that. The singing caliber of this crew is not number one, and it was not that catchy, so it kind of fell. Greaser Greg did highlight there, that he knows what's going on, but he also said this chick is trouble. He did not trust her here. He had his hackles raised. He thought there were suspicions about this Tangerine lady.
For sure, and he's not wrong, as we find out later. But right now, they've been working hard, and as we all know, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So after making all those outfits, the Garbage Pail Kids decide to unwind with a little TV. But the TV isn't working, so they once again venture out into the world, this time wearing trench coats, berets, and sunglasses. Because I guess in the 80s, it was better for people to think you were a sex fiend or a flasher than an overgrown baby from outer space.
Fair. Yeah, not the most inconspicuous, right? Like going out as a pervert is probably not the right way to go about this.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there. No, we know there are no 80s pervs.
Sorry. As a misguided sexual deviant,
this is what they look like. And these costumes, for that reason, they should not work at all. But not only do the patrons of the movie theater they go to totally accept them, gleefully chuckling along as the Garbage Pail Kids steal their hot dogs, kiss them on the cheek, and generally disrupt the movie, but Alligator and Wendy Winston win over an entire biker bar that we alluded to earlier. I mean, I guess Alligator didn't. He's in there trying to eat women's toes. But Wendy Winston comes in kicking ass and farting in faces, and before you know it, they're getting toasted at the bar and coming home shit-faced. What are we watching here?
This is insane.
This whole sequence is, like, out of control.
I can't imagine them filming this. Like, who was the person who dreamed up the Three Stooges movie theater scene?
Which is packed in the middle of the 80s to watch a black and white, like, Three Stooges reel.
Yeah,
it's very
awful.
strange.
And, like, it's just going insane with the sort of creepy puppets. I guess the style of the Stooges does lend itself to the comedy we're seeing in the theater, and maybe that's the inspiration here. The bar, though, the one thing, they label everything exactly as you want it. Outside it says the toughest bar in the world, just like the ununionized sweatshop. They're like, everything is as literal as fuck here, and it's pretty funny. So I laughed a lot at that. You do think that Alligator is going to get his ass kicked after biting that guy's toe off, but he doesn't. It's all good because Winston dropped a heavy fart and settled things with the people at the bar.
That's all it took.
Yeah.
No, they have totally won these bikers over, but you know who has not been won over by the Garbage Pail Kids? Juice and the boys. They spot Greaser Greg walking into Captain Mancini's antique shop and start hatching a plan to get rid of them once and for all. Now, the captain, he's been around. He can tell there's trouble brewing, so he pleads with the natural leader of the Garbage Pail Kids to get everyone back in the can where they can be safe until he finds a way to return them to their home planet. And who, in his opinion, is the natural leader of the Garbage Pail Kids? Al E. Gator, who is A, an alligator, and B, could barely walk through the antique shop doorway. He was so drunk. Like, how is this their leader?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe Greg should be the leader.
That's my pick. Greaser Greg. Well,
yeah.
He's got some rage issues, and he's not trusting of women, so that could be a like political problem.
Maybe we got to put the snotty one in charge. I don't know.
Oh my God, Messy Tessie.
Yeah, she may be the most level-headed of all of them, though.
Like her head is the flattest. Is
yeah,
that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's funny. The captain is trying to get them all to make some good decisions to stay inside. He says this because he wants them to stay out of trouble. He wants them to exist. He cares about them, but they're tired of being cooped up. They've been in that trash pail too long.
Oh, yeah. Unsurprisingly, Alligator does not listen to the captain. He even says,
"And you take the word of a talking alligator?"
And instead of encouraging the other Garbage Pail Kids to get back in the can, he goes back down into the sewers and opens up a valve right when Juice is taking a shit, which unleashes a backflow of water through the toilet that launches him up to the roof. And I admit, that must have gotten a big laugh from the kid in the theater.
The one kid that was there. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, the water work to get him up to the ceiling in this is actually kind of impressive.
The wire work?
The water.
Oh, okay.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
But yeah, they probably had to lift him up with the wire and then spray the water up against him to make it look like he was crashing here.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the convenience of being able to control the sewer pipes from the spot right underneath the shop is quite amazing.
Well, that and having a sixth sense for when your arch enemy is taking a shit.
Yeah, just knowing based on the vibrations along the sewage line of whose ass hit the bowl is pretty impressive.
And how convenient that one wheel they have to turn to control the valves leads directly to that one toilet.
At the zoo.
This is so fucking ridiculous. We get a weird pivot at this point as the plot stops being about getting the Garbage Pail Kids back to their home planet and instead focuses on closing a state home for the ugly. We've had filler scenes before, but have we ever had an entire filler subplot?
I'm not sure, but it does seem like we do because the current problem we have in this is the weird relationship between the boy and the Tangerine girl.
Yep.
And the bully gonna beat them up and then trying to get these Garbage Pail Kids into their can and
back to their planet safely.
But no, now we need to go rescue potentially other Garbage Pail Kids. But
that's what it is.
This is where the connection is. But really, they don't know if anyone's there. They just know that there is a home for the ugly that needs to get shut down. We even get a scene of like ugly catchers.
Yeah, they're essentially dog catchers, metaphorically in this case, I guess, throwing a giant like butterfly net on a girl, but she's wearing a mask. When she takes it off, they realize and they say,
"You shouldn't wear a mask unless it's Halloween, kid."
This is like just... How are people okay with this? Even at the time,
I have to assume that this thing got absolutely obliterated by critics and or the public.
It's got some real low ratings. If you look up like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, it's not good.
I'm not surprised. This is one of the like most nonsensical and poorly executed films that I have ever seen, and we've watched a lot on this podcast now.
Yeah, yes, we have. But yeah, after dipping our toe into this weird subplot, we're just right back to the story of Tangerine selling Dodgers jackets. And everyone, in fact, is learning stuff in the next couple of scenes. We learn that Juice is not only aware of the whole clothes thing, he might actually be in on it, as he makes a comment to Tangerine that he's choosing money over beating Dodger's ass. Meanwhile, she learns that Dodger isn't the one making the clothes. It's the Garbage Pail Kids. And also that they exist, I guess. Is that when she learns that?
Yeah, well, that's also when we learned that they were right side by side on the fucking set.
Yeah.
We get a shot of the full Sesame Street here as, like, yeah, all of the little, like, Garbage Pail Kids pour out and onto her porch.
She's the next door over, yes. You'd think that would be more, concerning to her, but she's more focused on the clothes and demands that they show her how they did it. And they do, which gives her an incredible idea. Fashion show. Tangerine's ambition showing here, and that's not all. Cross your heart, Noel?
Oh my God.
Huh?
Yeah, she's trying to keep this all rolling by trying to be enticing to Dodger. All she has to do is rub on the nipple of her clothing.
We don't actually see it, but she is definitely drawing his eye there with the finger. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little rough here. She is very excited about this sweatshop she's got in her own backyard. She does not give a fuck about these Garbage Pail Kids. She's happy to put these children to work for free.
Yeah, she's going to be a star. She even says so. But from here, we do go back to that stayed home for the ugly storyline, as the Garbage Pail Kids are refusing to make any more outfits until Dodger and the captain find their friends. They assume that their friends are trapped in the home for the ugly because obviously the Garbage Pail Kids are grotesque. And if you found one on the street, you would naturally call the ugly police or whatever those fucking guys were called. Turns out they've already found it. Dodger just hadn't told them yet, which, why?
I think they just hadn't had a chance. It did piss off Greg, though. He was not okay with this.
Pulled a switchblade on the kid.
Lack of information. He did, yeah, absolutely. But he pulls that like as quickly as Dodger gets a boner when he's around Tangerine.
It's pretty much an automatic reaction. Yeah. Well, with Dodger having finally told the Garbage Pail Kids about the stay at home and promising to free their friends with the captain, it's fashion show time. The Garbage Pail Kids aren't super on board with this, especially after Tangerine basically tells them to stay the hell away from it. She's particularly dismissive of Valerie Vomit, who wants to model some of the clothes, but Dodger is all in, especially after Tangerine tells him,
Dodger, baby, you're gonna look so cool tonight. Why, I don't even know how I'm gonna be able to resist you.
And my question is, where is Greaser Greg right now? He's been very vocal about women being trouble this whole movie. You'd think he'd have been all over this.
He had called her out earlier, and he just missed out on his opportunity to shut this down. And he really should have, because we know Tangerine does not have their best interests in heart.
No, not theirs, not Dodger's, nobody but hers, man. She's very selfish, as it turns out. It's weird, because at the start of the movie, when Juice was trying to beat him up, she was like encouraging him not to.
Yeah, it's strange. She seems torn about what to do, but in the end, she like falls back on what she wants most for herself and doesn't care who gets hurt.
I guess, and that's why she locks the Garbage Pail Kids in Captain Mancini's basement before taking Dodger to McBundy's department store, where she asks him to set up, and he has just fully got the blinders on here, can't see what's coming at all. You know who else can't see what's coming? Captain Mancini, when Juice and the gang knocks on the door of his antique shop. He opens it and immediately gets locked out. So looks like the stay at home for the ugly might have a few new residents, ain't all?
It does appear that way. It's interesting. I don't know what they used to knock him out. Some kind of gas delivery thing. I don't know. We don't see any gas actually come out of it. They didn't have the special effects budget for smoke or something.
No, it's like a spray can with something.
But nothing came out. They just hold it up at him and then he passes out.
They make spray chloroform. Is that a thing? Or
I guess.
Ether?
That must be what they're suggesting.
It's a can of ether.
You'd think his magic would help prevent this. He's been around for 400 years. He should have seen this coming, but he didn't.
Where's this like shield spell?
I don't know. So he's out. They have the key to the basement because that was given to them by Tangerine, and they collect all of the Garbage Pail Kids ready to take them off to that home of the ugly. Apparently there's a bounty when you turn in ugly people to that place.
Yeah, that's what Juice gets when he brings them there, and we get our first glimpse inside the stayed home for the ugly. It's basically a series of cages with a descriptor on each one: too old, too bald, too fat, etc. And after paying Juice the bounty, the guards force the Garbage Pail Kids into a too gross cage. Now I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you had a massive problem with this scene.
Well, yeah. I mean, the entire place was offensive, right? It'd be difficult to make a scene like that now, I think. It was pretty rough. They put Santa Claus in one. They had a clown in another.
Abraham Lincoln, I think I saw.
Abraham Lincoln was in one.
Some celebrity cameos. Which Abraham Lincoln, alive and well in 1984? What's happening?
He's just too skinny.
But he's alive.
Yeah, apparently.
Too skinny and also 200 years old. How old is Abraham Lincoln?
I have no idea.
Oh my gosh, this is so fucking strange. Back at the antique shop, the captain finally wakes up and upon realizing the Garbage Pail Kids are missing, springs into action. Meanwhile, at the fashion show, Dodger's waking up too. When Juice and the gang show up, he realizes Tangerine's been playing him like a fiddle this whole time. She didn't care about him, she just wanted his designs. And by his, I mean the Garbage Pail Kids. I guess when it comes down to it, Dodger's really just bringing nothing to the table here, although he does look fancy in his tuxedo jacket with the sequined lapels.
He does, I guess. I don't know. It's a pretty rough outfit.
It's like a Las Vegas valet.
Yeah, very flamboyant for sure with all of those sequins on there. Less fashionable than the Michael Jackson jacket he had on earlier.
You like the Commodore look better?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, the fashion show is about to kick off, and Tangerine introduces her clothes with this description.
Tonight, I would like to show you a totally new concept in youthful fashions. They're a little flashy, a little trashy, but fun.
Which to me just sounds like she's describing herself.
Yeah, that's fair. Based on the way that she acts and the outfits she wears, that would be an apt description for sure.
There you go. And then we see what will be a two-pronged attack. Dodger heads to that bar from earlier and rallies the bikers by telling them that Al, E, and Winston are in trouble. And the captain sneaks back into the state home for the ugly and breaks the Garbage Pail Kids out of their cage by dazzling the guards with some flash paper. And in an unparalleled act of kindness, they free all the other ugly people too. So I guess everyone's going to have a Merry Christmas after all.
Thankfully, yes, that Santa is free. This plan is going well. They are able to use the bikers, their motorcycles, and some chains to tear the metal bars off the windows of this place and then escape through what appears to be one of the cages. I don't know. Some of this stuff is pretty weird in terms of location and geography here. I don't know
like
why
you said earlier, the physical geography didn't make sense.
No, they should have probably just left through the door. If they had knocked out the guards, they definitely had the keys, but they decided to make it a little bit more difficult. But I guess you needed to make the bikers there for some reason. They could have just roughed up people instead of tearing the bars off, I guess.
Yeah, I assumed they were going to the fashion show to like fuck shit up there.
Yeah, that would have been effective too, and I'm surprised they didn't because they're about to head there, and you would think that the captain, Dodger, and all of those Garbage Pail Kids may not have the firepower to take down the street toughs of Juice and his gang.
Well, if you think that, then I don't know what movie you've been watching. They're magic, Noel, and they're coming to settle the score.
Yeah.
And we go to the fashion show where they are going to cause all kinds of trouble. First, Greaser Greg takes out Juice and his main henchman. Then they hit the stage where they rip the clothes off models and generally gross out the normies, is what they call normal people. But it's Windy Winston who really strikes a blow here. He runs out, turns his back to the audience, and starts flapping mad ass, which clears the room. I couldn't help it. I laughed here. It was the hair moving that did it on all the people in the thing.
That was definitely the part that was the most funny.
Yeah.
They definitely brought in a giant fan and had it blowing to indicate it was quite the loud or quite the long or quite the windy fart that was let out by Winston.
All of the above, perhaps.
Yeah, pretty funny. The extras couldn't help hold their laughter in this scene too, which is what made it kind of funny. They were all told to like scatter and get up, but they're all laughing their asses off as this is going on.
It was a fun shoot, maybe. I don't know. And here's a positive for you. It took a while, but we finally got to see Valerie vomit. She fucking lets it rip all over Mungo Jerry and his girlfriend here. I think I saw a whole goldfish come out of her mouth at one point.
Yeah, it is. The vomit they choose is like some kind of slime, green slime-esque liquid. I don't know what she's been eating, but it does not look like it's food. I don't know why they didn't do this effect more. It would have been easy to pull off, it seemed, but maybe they only had the budget for it once. They could only afford one sliming.
It's cheap effect, though. It's not hard to make slime. Anyone can fucking make slime.
I was surprised why they didn't do it. I don't know.
Yeah, we'd only see it, like, it kind of comes out of her mouth, but you could easily you could use the same fucking shot.
It's a separate shot of it coming out of her mouth and going on the other two, so clearly it's not one complete shot. That would have been a lot to make that happen, I think.
Well, a lot more than they wanted to do, I think.
Exactly.
Because they blew all their fucking budget on the fight we get here between Dodger and Juice. Who, I should note, Juice is at least a foot taller and must weigh 50 pounds or more, like over whatever Dodger is.
Yeah.
But they have a competitive fight, which ends when Dodger gets a big assist from Windy Winston. He flips him up into the air in what has to just be the worst bit of wire work I've seen since Chud 2 Bud the Chud. Remember how herky-jerky that shit was?
Yeah. It was terrible. Dodger flips like 7 times and then lands feet or legs on shoulders and just starts pounding Juice as he goes to the ground, and Dodger's beating him and also like crying at the same time. One of those like I've won but I'm crying because I've won moments. Maybe that's because he's like an 11-year-old boy, but
it's all just too much. The captain has to like put his jacket around his shoulders and walk him away with an arm around him a little bit, comforting him. Yeah, you'd think he just fucking killed the guy or something. He seems really shaken up by this. Anyway you slice it, this fashion show was a disaster, but really just for Tangerine, I guess. The Garbage Pail Kids have triumphed over their enemies, and Dodger has learned that it's what's on the inside that counts, as he sends Tangerine away with a fairly harsh goodbye.
Maybe we can just be friends. Maybe we can just do fun things together.
No thanks. I don't think you're pretty anymore.
Ooh, that one stings. And speaking of what's on the inside, Captain Mancini casts his magic spell to send the Garbage Pail Kids back into the intergalactic trash can. He thinks it's working, but his eyes are closed, so he doesn't see the Garbage Pail Kids slowly sneaking out of his shop. He eventually realizes, though, and the movie basically ends with him doing the shrug emoji and us hitting the credits.
Now they're free in the world.
Yeah.
I think that's just like us getting access to their cards. I don't know.
Go with God, Garbage Pail Kids. You don't think it's trying to set up a sequel?
Maybe. I interpreted that to be this is why they got put on cards later. They became famous in the world. And
okay.
It was that moment where they shut down Juice and his evil gang of like 20-something thugs and
became the legends that will be spoken of
forever.
40 years in the future by two guys on a drunken podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, man. I don't know. There's some twisted world where like there's a sequel to this and a sequel to Mac and Me.
I hope both. Fuck not.
That's the darkest timeline.
Yeah, that is the darkest timeline. Like pretty much anything else could happen, and that would be the worst for sure.
All right, so I'm getting a lot of negativity from you here. Why don't we start into our ratings so we can find out exactly what you thought of this?
Are you sure?
I think it's probably a good time.
Yeah, I think they're ready.
So the way that we always do this, we rate the movie on a scale of 1 to 10 two times. 1 to 10 for how bad it is, 1 to 10 for how enjoyable. And the goal is to find a movie that is 10 out of 10 on both scales, or what we call the Crit 20. And I have to say, I had not thought of my rating for this ahead of time. Like, we just watched this and now we're recording. And so I'm kind of just making this up as I go here. My first instinct is to give this a 10 for how bad it is because the plot is like weird and the acting is terrible and the effects of the Garbage Pail Kids is like super low budget and shitty. And it just kind of seems like a cash in on anyone who is fans of the cards. Like, you're just going to like, I guess, just see what they do with this. And again, the Garbage Pail Kids, the whatever the costumes are they're wearing, it's kind of a freak show. They don't look like humans. They do a pretty good job making them look like the things on the cards, I guess. But like, I had a hard time wrapping my head around real people interacting with these things and not being immediately mortified. Like the scene in the movie theater where they're like taking those hot dogs and like interacting, and the people are just kind of like laughing and not at all alarmed. Like, I would be, what the fuck is that? If, you know what I mean? One of those things like walked in there. So I was about to say, I feel like I can't give it a 10, but I can't think of a reason why not to, because like across the board, it's clearly meant to be like an absurdist, it's a kid's movie. Maybe that's why. That's what it is. It's because it's a kid's movie and I'm like, they're supposed to be like, make no sense and be cartoony and weird and shitty. But I don't know. I can't do it. I mean, I'm giving it 10 bad. What about you?
I think there is a cartoon of the Garbage Pail Kids.
Probably.
Like, I think a television series, and I bet you it is a lot better than this. Because this is absolutely fucking garbage.
Ooh.
Costuming.
Pun intended?
Yeah. Pun intended. Costuming, plot, acting, the creepiness of the relationship between Dodger and Tangerine, the creepiness of the relationship between the kid and the store owner, the lack of quality effects, I don't know. There's not a lot to this that I think would make it good. It used a small sound stage. There isn't creativity in music or sound effects or the way they shoot things. There was one song which wasn't effectively done.
Well, hang on. You're skipping the theme song, which I believe is called You Can Be a Garbage Pail Kid, which gives people a series of sort of rules or like maxims to follow to become a garbage pail kid.
If you're a piece of shit, you can become a garbage pail kid. Is basically what the
song
says.
Not in so many words.
Yeah.
They give examples of things you could do to,
Yeah. Do you hate following rules? Do you hate your parents? Is school evil? Do you not want to brush your teeth? Like, those are the things.
That was, I think you did a good little synopsis there. The different reasons. Yeah.
Pretty much. No, this is a 10 bad. It's
okay.
It's not good.
Right. I mean, again, we're not called good movies in beer.
No, it is pretty rough.
Did it make you nostalgic for the 80s, though? How enjoyable did you find this movie on a scale of 1 to 10?
It didn't really make me nostalgic. Only in a couple ways. The ways that it made me feel nostalgic were the clothing and hair were pretty hilarious. I did get a bit of enjoyment out of how bad the clothing and hair were. There were some attempts to make it funny. I think the stereotypes went way too far. This is also 80s stereotypes compared to 30 years later, so they're going to be problematic, right? Like there's going to be a lot of, and they weren't even that on the nose. It was just like
the idea of someone being in a cage for being too fat
is a problem.
Is not really
that whole place. The ugly,
just a home for the ugly.
The home for the ugly was a big problem. The fact that the kid was being bullied by adults and all this other shit was going on, making fun of.
I think they're supposed to be teenagers. I'm not trying to defend this. I mean, it sounds like I am, but I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't enjoy the costumes. Didn't enjoy the relationship between Tangerine and Dodger. The old man was weird and creepy. And he was supposed to be like the wise sage guy that leads us to the right advice, but with all of the other weird shit going on, it didn't work.
Okay.
Garbage Pail Kids did not translate well to live action. They would be much better.
Oh God, those things are terrifying.
Yeah, they'd be much better in a cartoon version.
Yep.
All of this together, I only had this as a 3 enjoyable.
Ooh, this is one of your lowest scores ever.
Yeah, I did not have a fun time with this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, you know what? I'm not upset that we watched it, but I think it was like, I don't want to go anywhere near this again.
All right, that's fair. When I first saw this, the reason I wanted to see it in the first place was, oh my God, they made a movie of the Garbage Pail Kids. It was like a weird curiosity thing.
Yeah, that maybe is why I'm like, maybe it's an expectations aren't met too, because I have memories of the Garbage Pail Kids being funny. This wasn't funny.
Well, how do you make it's a drawing on a card?
Yeah, I don't know.
To take that and try and make them into characters, which again, they do a terrible job of fleshing these things out into characters.
Yeah.
And then essentially it's
like
just
making
like
a Pog movie.
Yeah. Would you rather watch a bunch of guys fucking flip Pogs than watch this movie again?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's very bad review for this movie right there. What's weird is I was fighting the urge to give this a 10 for bad. There's something about this that like, I don't want to say it entertains me, but it kind of keeps my interest. And I think it's just looking at the fucking, they're not puppets. I want to keep saying puppets because whatever these heads are, the mouths move and stuff, but they're not moving in time with the person talking.
No.
The weird decision to make these things in real life and the fact that they look so shitty.
They're almost like bad animatronics.
You like can't look away. It's a kind of a car crash thing for me where I'm like looking at these things being like, what the fuck? And I made this comment to you while we were watching it. I don't know who could have watched this and been like, this is ready to go to theaters. We had that with a different movie. I forget what it was now, but like it might have been Mac and me, but like somewhere along the way, someone should have seen this and been like, oh, we can't release this. But they did. And there's like a weird car crashy thing where I'm like strangely drawn to it. But at the same time, it's only like 93 minutes and it felt a lot longer than that.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of scenes where I'm like, fuck. I was like just, you're kind of groaning. I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay.
For enjoyable.
All right.
It's not good, but I feel like I liked it more than you, so I'm just going 4 because you went 3.
I mean, in terms of like puppet movies we've watched on here, like I would much rather recommend the erotic puppet movie.
Oh, Let My Puppets Come?
Yeah, Let My Puppets Come.
Oh, that's a much better time.
Way
for sure.
more entertaining than watching this thing.
But the difference is you could watch this with your kids. You can't watch that with your kids.
No.
No, so there's that. So maybe it depends on who you're with. Yeah.
I mean, seeing a woman give a blowjob to a puppet is probably not everyone's cup of tea.
No, but truthfully, both of us clearly enjoyed it more than this, so there's that. What'd you think of this beer that we had, though?
Oh man, it went down easier than this movie, for sure. I wouldn't describe it as trash or garbage. It is strong though. I am getting the alcohol in it.
Yeah.
I'm having to drink it a little slower than I think.
Wow, I'm done before you. That's a
did
surprise.
Finish yours before mine.
I just wanted to get it over with.
Yeah.
This is not my style of beer, obviously. Double IPA, and as you mentioned, it's hoppy, it's hazy, it's all the things I don't like.
It is good though. There is like a nice balance of hops in this. Oh my goodness, it's got a lot of flavor for sure. I don't know. I would say it's hard. We're also pretty deep into our session of
we've had more than we've done a couple of episodes today. We've had a few drinks. So,
but all of the ones I've had from this brewery, I have really enjoyed. I would love to visit I think road trip to Prince Edward County, but just for beers, it's got to be on the table at some point.
Yeah, there's so much out there to check out, and it's not like that far away from us.
No, we can make that work.
Do it in a day probably, or whatever. Maybe do an overnight or something like that.
Yeah.
No, man, you know what? Same. I've tried a few beers now from this brewery. This one, not for me. That's a style thing. No commentary on the quality. The other ones I enjoyed more for sure. I will say, though, similar to the beer that we had for Transformers for our season finale, this did not taste as strong as I expected it to, considering it's a double IPA. Like, again, way too hoppy for me, but it wasn't like death in a can, which is kind of what I was expecting.
Yeah, it's not like drinking one of the old school double IPAs or the, like, even those sort of double stouts. Those things kick your ass.
Oh, the Imperial.
The Imperial stouts just fucking shit on you, but this is much more palatable than that for sure.
Yeah, so check out all my friends if you are in the Prince Edward County area. Or I believe they also ship throughout Ontario. Actually, of course, I believe. This is how we got these.
Yeah.
They ship throughout Ontario, so if you're in Ontario, Canada, you can get them to ship it to you. Maybe not my style of beer, but, I think a worthwhile bonus episode, even if we didn't totally enjoy it.
Absolutely. It was fun to do the episode. I don't regret watching this movie because I had that curiosity like you did. Did not pull it off, right? Like, I wouldn't say it's worth your time. There's lots of other movies that are bad but more enjoyable that you could watch than this one.
And you can hear all about those by listening to any of our Season 4 episodes. We're in our vacation right now between Season 4 and Season 5. If you haven't checked out any of our Season 4 stuff, find them right now, man. Just search Bad Movies and Beer whenever you get your podcast. And we will be back in about a month with our fantastic 5th season. Before then, if you have not already, please follow us at the BMB Podcast on Twitter and Instagram.
Feel free to post a like or comments on any of the services
give us a rating or a review.
We'd appreciate that. And if you want to send us any messages, thebmbpodcast@gmail.com.
Definitely. We're taking requests and stuff for Season 5, and we really hope you will join us for that in the fall. Until then, thank you for joining us for our Garbage Pail Kids bonus episode. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And we'll see you next time on Bad Movies and Beer.
Keep a lid on that trash can.
All right.
Don't let those garbage kids out.
Would the whole movie have just been about the captain and Dodger then?
That would have been hilarious, the adventures they would have went on.
Dodger and his dashiki traveling. A live action heap of fun.